2, 1. What's up, guys?
What's going on?
This is so fucking cool. I'm not gonna lie. This is so fucking cool. Like I was saying before, definitely the biggest one that I've done in terms of like number of people in the studio.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
But this is absolute pleasure. If you guys just want to go around and like introduce yourselves, who you guys are, the part you play in the band, and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Wherever you want to start.
Yeah, my name's Josie.
You want to speak right into
McFarland.
that?
I don't know where else to
Actually, you know what?
start.
That'll be easier on you.
Oh, yeah. Great. Hi, my name is Josie McFarland. I'm one of the vocalists. I'm newest to the band. I've only been with the band for about 6 months, but I love it so far.
I'm Tina. I play the drums and kind of help Jabez run some of the other stuff. Me and him kind of founded it, so I guess I've been here longest, technically, with Jabez.
I'm Jabez. I'm the bass player, music director, band leader with Tina, also since day one.
Yeah, and I'm Danny Roses, frontman, lead singer with Josie. And I've been with the band for about a year now. Coming up on the 20th, actually, will be a year. So, and it's been really fun.
That's awesome. So how long has the Mango Cakes been in formation for? Like, when did this all start?
I think we like to say like December 2019. So like
Okay.
3 months before the pandemic, we decided to be a band.
Perfect time to start, right?
Yeah, perfect time to start. It was exciting. Actually, it's a funny story about that. I don't know if we want to get into it right away, but yeah, December 2019. This is when we started.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw you guys for the first time, I want to say, like, the last time you guys played at Launchpad. This was like 2 months ago, month and a half ago.
Yeah, that time flies.
And Leroy from the Slums has been absolutely bullying me about going to see you guys play live, having you on the podcast. And I don't get out much because I'm just busy as shit.
Yeah.
But then, so I went to go see their show, and they're like, hey, you're already out. We're going here next. And I was like, all right, sounds great to me.
Great.
And you guys put on one hell of a fucking show.
Thank you.
Like, your guys' show is absolutely bananas. How many people did you have on stage at one point?
Yeah, that's always been the running joke with the Mango Cakes. It's like the Mango Cakes walk into the bar. There's 10 of them. What do? And they're waiting for the rest of their band to show up. That's a joke from Miko. But yeah, I think the most has been 12 people. We just want to have as many people, as much talent on stage as we can. That night was probably 9 people, 9 to 10. Let's say 9,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
9 to 10.
At one point, we had 2 keys players. One was on guitar and one was on keys, and it was just obnoxious, right? And we had 2 trombones at one point. Yeah. We're maximalist with with talent. We would just want everybody on stage.
And so were all 9 people playing instruments? Like, because there was so much going on, and I wasn't exactly sober. Yeah. So I was trying to pay attention to who was doing what.
Yeah. Besides them too, everybody's playing something.
Well, yeah, like contributing to the band,
Yeah, absolutely.
That's fucking crazy because, your sound is very much outside of what I typically listen to. Mm-hmm. I'm a lot more like just heavy metal and like deathcore and shit like that.
Yeah.
But seeing you guys play live was a fucking experience. Yeah. Like it was a lot like the big bands from like the 50s and the 60s, even like back in the 40s. A lot of horns, a lot of percussion. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of like noise, but good noise, right? Mm-hmm. Was that always the plan when the Mango Cake started?
I think so. Like as soon as we kind of started playing like the music that we play now, like immediately it was like, oh, this song definitely needs horns. We need a keys player. We need a percussionist. So it like definitely like I think we wanted it immediately.
Yeah, and it was funny because we were before the Mango Cakes were in a band called the Jonah and the Jets, and it was this indie pop 4-piece band, drums, guitars, just simple. And then we're like, and that ended, and then we're like, let's do this kind of thing. And
keep going to check the audio levels.
What song do you want to cover? What songs do you want to cover? And it was like the soul pop, easy listening type music. And they were like, we don't know like musicians. And then we were like, yes, we do. We know a keys player. And then Tina's like, I know these horns players from school. And so let's invite them. I know this percussionist. So it was like, let's invite this person to practice. Let's invite this person to practice. The more we invited people, the more it's like, whoa, this is going like really quick.
Now we need them. Yeah.
Yeah. Now you can't live without horns. You know, it's like what? Stupid not to have a sax player. What? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. Or keys. Yeah.
And so when you guys were, I don't want to say like, was there a process of like whittling through like who's gonna stick around, who's gonna leave? Like I'm always interested in like the building of a team aspect of a band. Was that like an immediate thing, or was there a lot of trial and error for you guys? And because again, like I'd imagine especially like in a music project, like you guys have so many turning pieces and cogs in the machine. You know, to get that working well and so like well oiled, like what did that look like for you guys? I'm proud to announce that the podcast is now officially sponsored by the fine people over at Chop Chili Company. Guys, this is some of the best chili you can get here in the state of New Mexico, and they are online as well as in stores. They can be found at Smith's, Albertsons, Sprouts, John Brooks, and Lowe's Corner Market. They have 3 amazing flavors that you see here, and they also have frozen green chili that you can get online. Go on over to the website, chopchilico.com, and get yourself some amazing chili today.
That's always been a process for us. It's like you find out who's really into the project. The more you do things together, the more you ask from people. Like, hey, practice at Monday, 7 to 9, and if you're gonna show up with prepared or not, right? The more you buy into it, the more we buy into you. Like we just want excellent people on the crew, and excellence kind of attracts excellence and gets that energy going, I think. So, Tina, what was the process like?
Well, so since we had like that 4-piece, like, what did you call it? Indie pop band at first? Like that was like the original like 4 people. But obviously when we started like moving in different directions, like creativity and music styles and everything just started to clash. So that's kind of when me and Jabez started to learn like, oh snap, we like really have to find who we really want to be around us if we're going to be spending so much time together and like working towards something.
Yeah.
So I guess like from that 4-piece, probably, I don't know, we just
took years.
Yeah.
We've mastered the art of like interpersonal and social conflict navigation. It's a team. It's a basketball team. It's like 10 people. How do you get 10 people to do the same thing together and not hurt each other's feelings when you critique each other or push each other to excellence? Like we've definitely had conversations where it's like, hey, it's time for us to break up, and it's not gonna work out if we keep going together. It's like tearful conversations with friends, and hey man, like you're not doing the thing that we are asking you to do. And so what you see on stage is like people that want to be there now, and that was a 3-year process.
Yeah.
I think now we've only felt like, dang, this crew is really, really into this. Like they want to be here, and it's not like we're pulling teeth to get them to practice or learn songs or like get excited for a gig or something like that. Yeah. And imagine the pay for like a band this big. Not many are like money motivated right now, which is interesting. But we've also had gigs that were like $8,000 and everybody gets paid really nice, you know. So it's like that. So yeah, it's been the process for sure.
Well, I'd imagine doing stuff like this, like you can't exactly be too money motivated, like from the start.
At this point, yeah. I feel like, especially at the start for any artist, depending whether it's music, painting, whatever type of art you have, I think it's a long process before you get to that success, I guess you could say, to be able to make tons of money and you're not worrying about money and you're doing the craft that you love, you're doing the thing that you're in love with, that inspires you, that inspires other people. But I think it definitely takes a lot of time for something to come to fruition, and you have to learn too. You have to learn lessons. You have to learn what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah, I think for me, what drew me kind of to the Mango Cakes was what Jabez talked about earlier, like the excellence attracts excellence thing. Like how I joined the Mango Cakes was really different. I didn't know anybody. I'm not from here. I'm not from New Mexico even, so I didn't know anybody in the music scene, anything. I just knew Tina because we played at a church together, and she just asked me to come sing a couple songs with the Mango Cakes, and I had never been to a show. I had never seen them before, and I was like, I guess, sure, I'll sing like 2 songs or whatever just for fun, and I went and I was just so impressed with like the excellence and the passion and like the music style. Like you said, I love that music style. And so then a week or so later when they asked me if I wanted to join for real, I was like 100%, I'm in. I don't care about the money. I don't care about whatever. I just want to be a part of this because like the excellence and, you know, just great people to be around.
Yeah. I think Tina and I like have mastered the scheme. And like we'll text each other at 11 and be like, dude, what if we did this? Like,
Yeah.
And she would share a video of Josie like way before we even thought about having her. Like maybe 8 months before or something like that. And it
Yeah.
was like, dude, this singer can sing. She's like probably one of the best singers in the state. And I was like,
no one
well,
knows her.
yeah, and no one knows her because she's new and she's from like, she's not in the pro scene. So that's good because nobody's going to steal her, you know? And we were like, okay. And I was like, okay, interesting. You know, we still have a vocalist. It's fine, you know, but that's cool. That she's really talented, you know? And then as timing went by and like, it's like, how do we get her to like this? So that invitation for you to sing on stage was a scheme. Like
It was like a secret audition.
it was Tina. All we need to do is get her to watch a gig.
It was like a 6-month plan.
Yeah, it was like, we had diagrams and schematics.
Yeah, they definitely had the scheming thing down. I had no idea at all.
Yeah, same
Like
with-
honestly, like Tina and I, we knew each other, but we weren't really like
Yeah.
close friends
Yeah.
yet or anything like that.
Yeah.
Like we liked each other, but we weren't like super close. And so like I had no idea. In fact, when she called me, I was like scared. You know, like when someone calls you that you don't normally like talk to on the phone, and you're like, why are you calling me? That's exactly how I felt. So she like calls me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going on? I'm like, what did I do? Is what my thought was. And then she's like, hey, do you want to sing a couple songs? So I was like, yeah, for sure, let's do it.
And that was a late night conversation Tina and I had. It's like, get her to sing 2 songs on stage, and she's
and make
gonna
her
get
fall
hooked.
in love with it.
Yeah,
That's
she's
what
gonna
we
get
did.
hooked. Yeah, she's gonna get
Yeah,
hooked.
that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened.
Because I would comment on your. I was also like scheming on the side. Like,
Yeah.
she would be on Instagram posting stories of her singing.
Networking on Instagram is a beautiful thing.
It's so beautiful.
It's a beautiful thing.
It's so fast. It's so fast these days because you just know what everybody's up to, you know. And so Josie would sing, and she's like, "Damn, this girl can sing." And then I would be like, "That crowd's not moving for you. That crowd doesn't even realize how talented you are." And then I just like putting words in her head, and eventually it's Tina.
Yeah, it worked.
Get her to sing at Marvel. Watch.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, and I was so scared. Like I hadn't done something like that in years, like probably since college. So I was like so terrified, and I like go, and the second they get on the stage, like everybody comes to the front and everybody's freaking out, and I'm like in the back like about to cry because I'm like so scared. But then it ended up being so fun.
Yeah. Same with Danny.
He was another.
Yeah. It was,
Yeah, we were thinking about him for a minute too.
Yeah, we saw him. We saw you at an open mic that we were hosting, and this kid can sing, and he's got that more like raspy, like really soulful voice, and it's like that's a really cool dimension, right? Like that you could do rock music, but you could also like do some really cool like soulful stuff with that style of voice, and like what context could we have him up? And then eventually there was a gig that we just needed singers, you know, and we were transitioning out of our vocalist, and we were like inviting as many singers as we could for that show because we had to book
That's
it.
a very business-minded way to say that. Good for you. I caught that.
That's right, man. We have Microsoft Excel. We have Google Excel sheets for set lists and all that stuff. I was like,
Dude, you have a manager. Okay, you guys are so professional. You're the first people I had to talk to, like, through your manager. So I'm a dude in his house, all right, that I rent. All right?
nah, man.
I will say though, we met at the Launchpad show. I think
Yes.
you came and talked to me,
Yes.
and I felt really, really excited because that was the first time I got to be like, "Hey, you can talk to our manager." So I mean, it's very, very new. But I was really excited to get to say that. You know, I felt like I had made it.
Yeah, it does feel like that.
I think I'll say the same thing that Josie said. Like when Jay Bez called me, it was for their year anniversary show, and he called me. He's like, "Hey man, we need some singers, and I remember listening to you at that open mic, and you sounded really good. We were wondering if you wanted to sing a couple songs with us." And I was like, "What the?" I've been hearing about the Mango Cakes for like a couple of years already. At that point, hadn't been able to see them, catch them in a show because I also did shows on my own, so it was always conflict of schedule, but. He called me and I was like, hell yeah, like I'm down. I'll be there, whatever practices you need, whatever you need, I'm down to help. And yeah, I mean, it just got to what it is now. But yeah, I was super nervous, super scared. Even the first show, you could see it in my demeanor and my body language and the way I was singing. Very, very, very
you
nervous.
You were super nervous. Yeah.
So, and I'm going to echo what you guys were just saying. You two have phenomenal voices.
Thank
They're
you.
like unheard of here in New Mexico, to be quite honest. Like, 'cause what's awesome right now, at least, is post COVID, there's so much entertainment happening, and there's music, and like I'm a huge fan of stand-up comedy, and there's comedy exploding everywhere. It makes me so happy. And like going out, I didn't really go out too much before the pandemic, and then when everything shut down, I was like, oh, maybe like if it ever opens back up again, I should try like being social.
Yeah.
And maybe I should give that a shot.
Yeah.
And it's so cool now being able to go out and see like not only amazingly talented people like you guys going out and playing, but Albuquerque shows out and supports you guys.
Yeah.
And supports all these big bands. But what makes me happier than that is they're supporting good bands.
Yeah.
Like I think one of the worst things that could happen to a rising scene is a bunch of people pack out a place like Launchpad, Marvel, Inside Out, and then just a horrible act shows up. And it's like because a lot of people, because I've noticed this, is like a lot of people, whether it's because of the location of the venues, because like all the crime and stuff like that, or the economy, people don't have a whole lot of money to go out. They've only got, and most people, I think the average person here works 2 jobs now. I don't think there is a single job individual here
I
anymore.
can see that.
So, time is a factor too. So when they go out, no one wants to go out and, oh, well, that group was horrible, so I'm not going to go to Launchpad anymore. Right. It's not like the group, they didn't even have a listener in the first place, or the comedian didn't have a fan in the first place, but that venue, because the venues are putting in a shit ton of work now, which is really awesome to see. Because I didn't see or at least I didn't hear of it, like breweries putting on a bunch of bands, putting on a bunch of comedians pre-COVID, right? And talking to a couple people who have been doing music since well before the pandemic, there's been this like, hey, you have to like show a resume, you have to like do that, jump through so many hoops to get shows, and now it's like, no, we've got a great band like the Mango Cakes, and then we've got opener band A, B, and C. Let's attach them and give them a shot. Let's just see what happens. Just give them a shot. And so to see such a huge crowd show out for you guys was fucking awesome. Like it's really uplifting. You know what I mean? It's awesome to see that people still want to go out and have fun and do all that. And your guys' social media blows most out of the fucking water. How much conscious thought is put into like the image, whether it's in person or online? Like, I ask like a lot of people, they don't really think about it, and they're like super natural. Like, it's just like on stage, they just go on, play their shit. People love them, they walk away. Other people, it's very conscious. It's very like not scripted, but it's very like it's calculated. You know what I mean? Is that a big factor for you guys?
I think it's both. Like, I think we've always been predicated on, from the get-go, excellence, right? Like, be good at anything you do. Yeah.
So I get paranoid because usually my buddy is back there producing, right? But he had some issues. We had to leave state. But because one time we went for 2.5 hours until like 12:30 in the morning.
Oh my gosh.
And he's sitting back there and he goes, hey, did you press record? And I was like, I'm like 4 beers deep. My guest is like 8. And he's like, what? And it was bad.
You can check on that.
Yeah, check.
But so like your image and how much effort and time and just real like conscious thought.
I want to answer that by giving credit to my sister from the get-go. So my sister is this graphic designer from New York City, also really talented in what she does, and she like used to work for a firm that did work for like Walmart, Verizon, like these big companies, Alicia Keys, Harry Styles, like just amazing big things. So she knew what branding was like what branding is supposed to be, and having a system of branding like colors, logos, imagery, like anything, feelings that you evoke as a brand. And when she heard that I was starting a band, she was like, hey, you should have a brand guide. Like, you should have a brand. Don't just ask me for a logo. Because, family, like, can you make us a logo, dude? Because we're starting a band, And she was like, no, not just a logo. Like, you need to have a whole system. And so from the get-go, before we even gigged, I think we had a meeting, and she was like, okay, I'm gonna design these things for you, and not for free, obviously. She's professional, and like she did this whole thing, the logo that you see, the colors that are in our social media page, the stuff we wear, like all of that there's a guide for it. Yeah, talk about professional. Like my sister started that in our heads. We didn't know that stuff. We were just good musicians.
First, like I was like, why does he want us to each pay for this when we haven't played a gig yet? I was like, I'll do it, but why?
Why?
And now I get it. But
and my sister was like, it's like a flag, right? If you're under some banner that you can like look at visually and evoke feelings out of, it's easy to feel like a part of it. And so instead of just it's just all those things tied together. And so when you think mango cakes, there is like these fun, like excellence or blown away, or like that is like, how do we make that happen is a discussion we always have in the studio, right? Like how do we make things happen that's like on brand? Like we want to have fun, but also at the same time, we are also loose with it when it comes to music, right? Because everybody is so good at what they do in this band individually. Everybody here is like can be excellent in their own fields. Like everybody here has a second gig, you know what I'm saying? And like are sought after as musicians. And it's like, okay, so this person can just solo. So last night we played at DB and we just like the whole horn section just play 16 bars of a solo. You. There's no plan. Let's just go. You know. So there's a looseness to it, but also like, hey, let's fall back into this. This is the foundation, right? So I think it ties everything together.
Yeah, I think having that structure is what makes us able to do that.
Yeah.
I think having that baseline and everybody being on the same page of, like what we stand for, even what we wear, whatever it is, what our stage presence looks like. Like we talk about all those things, and I think that it helps the music side to be able to like be more free flow because everybody's already on the same page and everybody already knows like the expectations.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, at least personally, it makes me a lot more confident in what I'm doing. Just because, like she said, you have that baseline in your head. Like, okay, I already know where we're going with this. But even if we go off rails a little bit, we're going to come back over here and it's going to fall back into place. We're going to make it fit and flow how it's supposed to flow anyway. Like he was saying, while the horns were playing all their solos yesterday, we actually had wireless for the first time, completely wireless, and we were able to go into the crowd and be able to interact with the crowd and do something a little bit different than we usually can because we're tied to the stage with the wired mic. So having that baseline, but also being able to play around with it is something that gives me confidence. I feel like gives everybody else confidence too.
So that's interesting. You make me think about a lot about what I'm doing here. Jesus Christ. I just had a stupid idea, went to my buddy about it. He's like, yeah, I'll draw it for you. And then it became that.
Yeah, that's great.
So brand management and the kind of guidelines, and that's really smart to have a thing to fall back on when maybe if you are getting a little too loose with it, or you feel like a little like directionless. Did that also act as like a rubric, as like, okay, these are the standards we have to meet. These are like not only like what we've promised to do for the band and for ourselves, but just for like, if you're speaking in the first place, like for myself, right? So myself as a member of this band, I have to meet these certain marks. I'm going to continue to do all these things, not because like I have to, but I want to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Was there a lot of that kind of thought going into building it? Because there's that idea where it's like, well, if you do something you love, you don't have to work a day in your life. But if you're doing the thing that you love, but you don't structure it properly, it quickly becomes a job.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you hate doing it. You hate showing up.
Yeah.
And not to say that every day for you guys is sunshine and rainbows.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's not. But, you have to at least not give yourself incentive, but really to make it like, this is so impossibly inviting. Like, I could never imagine not doing this.
Yeah.
Like, did you find yourself doing a lot of that?
Yeah.
I think there was like a point for me, like about a year ago, when we were like kind of getting Dan in the band, where I realized like if I didn't hold myself to that standard, like no one else was going to.
Yeah.
And that was like a point where I think me and Jabez really wanted the band to get tight.
Yeah.
And I think we both kind of like took a different.
Feel free to mess with it. Like, all
Okay.
super durable.
Oh whoa.
You tilt it down.
Tilt it down, yeah.
She's a drummer.
Yeah, I don't understand this stuff. There's a sound guy for this stuff for me.
She doesn't know how to use a microphone.
No, but yeah, about a year ago, I would say me and Jabez got like super serious because we wanted the band to be tight for whatever new singers we had coming in. So we immediately like both had to hold ourselves to like the highest standard for every single rehearsal.
Yep.
To show like our other bandmates who have already been there and maybe like we had been slacking the past year or so that like things were changing and that we like could not slack anymore if we wanted to keep growing. Otherwise we could keep doing what we're going and wing every gig, whatever. People will still enjoy it, but like for us, we're not growing, so what's the point?
There's always this between me and Tina for sure. Like there's intrinsic motivation to be great. It was always like, damn, I missed that note. That's stupid. Let's do that again. Or our pocket doesn't feel good. Let's loop this again and again at practice multiple times until it feels good, until it feels right. And we came to an impasse last year where we're going through the motions of being a band, and like we're talented enough to wing it on stage and people wouldn't be able to tell, right? We know Superstition, let's go. You know what I'm saying? Let's call a song on stage that we never practiced before, right? And we would kind of nail it, right? But I think we like got to this point where we're like, okay, but that's also on our level intrinsically, that's lacking, right? Even though other people don't think it is, for us, it doesn't feel right, it doesn't sit right. So let's have these conversations with our members and say, yo, it's gonna stop. Everything's gonna be tight. Everything's gonna be not scripted, but like planned, right? We're not gonna mess around, and we're gonna have this level up as a band because we're hitting our ceiling. What's next, you know? And we had individual conversations with everybody in the band to say, hey, yo, this is where we're going. But yeah, Tina's right. Like we had to start within ourselves, like looking at ourselves, like, yo, am I doing as much as I can as a musician? We would spend like a Sunday like for 4 hours just like nailing songs between the two of us, so that the pocket by Monday is like tight, you know, when everybody else shows up, you know. And enjoy it, you know. It's like, whoa, that was great. We'd nerd out on pocket and time feel and all these things because it was intrinsic. I don't know, but yeah.
I think another thing that goes into that too is, I think at this point, I don't know if you guys would agree, but I think we're all in the same mindset of the goal we have at the end of the day. And I think that also plays into how much, you can't just, wing it to be able to get to that goal, because nothing comes without working for it. But I think we all have the same goal at the end of the day, and I think that also helps us be able to stay disciplined and be able to, just feed off each other and stay disciplined and do what we got to do.
Yeah, I also think a big part of it is that we like each other. You know, we actually genuinely care about each other and want to be around each other.
Not liking each other.
And so, like, by the time I joined the band, everything was already really tight. I mean, yes, we always have stuff to work on, but everybody was already really tight. And so when I joined the band, like, I wanted to do well, and I wanted to give the best that I could because I cared about these people, and I think we all feel that way. And so I think it's a mixture of, like, being intrinsically motivated, to be great, and then also like caring about each other a lot, and because we don't want to let each other down, we're all in this together. But
that's a good way to get it. Yeah.
Was there ever like a moment in the beginning of like, oh man, like not intimidation, like you're scared of them, but like intimidating of the moment? Say I'm coming into this well-established band. They have their flow. They have the way they operate. Yeah, I have to conform to this while at the same time, for both of you guys, I have to conform to it while at the same time showing why I'm here, what makes me stand out, and then how I can help them evolve. Was that ever like a thing for you guys? Go ahead.
Yeah, I definitely felt that way. Like I said, whenever I sang the 2 songs with them, I was so scared because there was already so many people there that like cared so much about them, and were excited to see them. And I was like, man, I really don't want to screw this up for them, But then also once I officially joined, Jabez sent me like the Google sheet with like all the songs, and he was like, put your name by every song that you know, and it's like hundreds and hundreds of songs, and I'm like, oh my god, what did I get into?
250 songs.
Yeah, it was crazy. And so I definitely had that moment of being like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? I don't know if I'm good enough to be in this band. But everyone was really kind to me and really made me feel welcome, like right off the bat. And so yes, there was that moment of being like really nervous and a bit intimidated because I'm stepping into something that's already really established. But at the same time, I felt right away that these people cared about me, and so I trusted them, and it worked out great.
I would say the same thing. Like, I was definitely intimidated because these guys are amazing musicians, and me coming into it, maybe it's a little bit more of like imposter syndrome that I commonly have within myself. But even to this day, I'm like, damn, I got to make sure I'm at this level because I can't get left behind because they're all great. And this is something that, and I don't think that I'm not great, but I know I have a lot of work to do personally for my voice, for stage presence, just anything that I could do to help out the band. But overall, yeah, everybody made me feel welcome. Everybody made me feel like it was okay to be me, or it was okay to mess up in practice real quick and be able to work on that and be able to not dwell on it and like, oh, you messed up on that. Okay, now you're done. Everybody was really cool. Everybody was really chill.
Secretly.
Very true.
I'm just teasing, I'm teasing.
They were like, be nice to Dan. He's new.
Yeah, right.
Well, what's the alternative though, right? You could either be the way you just described. Sure, imposter syndrome is detrimental to the individual, but it's a sign of humility, right? And so, what's the alternative? Is you come in super prideful. I'm the shit. I know what's going on. I already know what's going on. I already know what's up.
Yeah.
And not to like dig in a ton, but I would imagine that might have been one of the factors that weed out a couple of people from working with you long term. Because no one wants. That's like the biggest thing that isolates somebody as not being a team player is when you think you are the individual, you're the only person that knows how to either get something done, how to make something better. You're the only one that can like, we'll hear your opinion. That was sweet, but mine is the real.
You're right.
You know, I know what's going on.
Yeah.
And that's what separates. I feel like a lot of like that's what separates a couple of groups and just in general any category from the whole.
Yeah.
And you're talking about how you guys can naturally just go on stage, do well, crowd's happy, you're happy, you get your beer money and you walk away. And that's all fine and good, but you know, you're going to grow if you keep doing this, I feel like, no matter what kind of art form it is. And if you just kind of wing it the whole time, you're going to have like a following. And these people are going to keep showing up. It's like, hey, I've been watching these people regularly for like the last year and some change, and they have not gotten better. What's going on?
That's a nightmare.
You know, but so to kind of recognize that in yourselves, I mean, is humility a thing that you guys like act like as is a very individual question, but is it like something you guys have to like consistently check yourselves on, especially when you're getting like I see you guys' stories on Instagram and it's like this show, and I'm like, damn, like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
We have that many shows in Albuquerque,
Right. Exactly. And believe it or not, this year is like a slow year. Like we first year was like 4 gigs a week. You know, it was brutal. But this one is like we're picking and choosing like shows so we can do great. But humility, I think, always is a factor. I had in the beginning we had people that were just clashing because there was like this. There wasn't the meeting of skill and how much they were talking crap. You know, like when you say like we like each other, like in the beginning there was moments that were like practice was quiet because somebody hated me, you know?
Yeah, it was crazy.
And it was awkward and it's uncomfortable and you don't get things done when there's that kind of air
when you have to
in the room.
tiptoe around each other.
Yeah, there's air in the room, and I think young bands struggle with this where they know something's wrong and they won't say anything, and then they let it go on, even if it's like, oh, you sing flat, and I know you sing flat. And
Jay loves to tell me that.
No, I never said that to you.
You said that to me yesterday during sound check. It was a joke, but you did say that to me yesterday.
I just tell Autotune too. She's flat, dude. Yeah, there's that, you know, humility versus confidence. I don't think we've ever gone to the line where we're cocky about things because at the end of the day, like the music scene, it can be bigger than Albuquerque, right? The national scene is incredibly the bar is so high as well, and so that keeps me like all right, don't be cocky about anything that you're doing. There's success, be happy, be grateful, and never take anything for granted.
Yeah, kind of to your point, a mentor I had a long time ago like told me that humility is about like occupying your space fully, no more, no less. And so you can say you're humble by being like, oh man, I suck at everything. Like, I'm not good enough, blah, blah, blah. But that's not actually humility. You know, that's self-doubt. And that comes from a place of pride too, because you're scared of failing. And so I think humility is really fully occupying your role in your space. So in our space, you know, me as the vocalist or whatever, it's fully occupying that and giving everything that I can to it, no more and no less, you know, just giving 100% and filling what I'm supposed to be, you know?
Did we tell you she was a worship pastor?
Yeah, I know.
That was a preaching moment, right?
I still have those moments every once in a while, you know?
Take that.
Yeah,
That's
so
great. That's
you know,
great.
to all of you out there that are feeling that way, just remember that you're special and you're made for a purpose.
Oh, yeah. Amen.
Amen.
Yeah, I just got taken to church. Good God. That's awesome. So were there a lot of, I don't want to say growing pains, but like, because I feel like a lot of entertainment that was, because you guys started like right before the pandemic, but a lot of entertainment that came out of the pandemic now is getting like you guys have so much more skill and knowledge, and you go through a lot more in the beginning stages because of the pandemic. Like, you, like, especially being like a music artist, you have not a whole lot of venues, if any, to play.
Yeah.
It's tough to get together and actually practice properly, and just in general, that was just a real shitty time to be around. Were there a lot of trials you guys kind of went through during COVID that are really helping you out now? Where it's like, man, I'm really glad we had to deal with that then, because it makes this maybe not easier, but it makes it a little smoother. Is there any of that for you guys? Like, are you able to look back on the pandemic a little more fondly now that we're kind of inching out of it? And it's like, man, like, thank God we got those issues out of the way then.
I mean, our first few shows were like canceled, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we were basically like practicing for nothing, which obviously ended up not being for nothing.
Well,
but
exactly in the time though,
Yeah.
you're like, why the fuck am I
we
doing
were
this?
like,
frustrating.
yeah, we were pushing everyone to practice through the pandemic. We'd literally have like my 3-car garage open, everyone like 6 feet apart. Whoever could wear masks was wearing masks.
Yeah.
Like, luckily people were like willing to show up still. Once numbers would spike, we'd maybe take a break for a few months.
Yeah.
And then our show would get canceled.
Yeah.
And then we'd start back up again. And I think it happened, 2 or 3 times at least?
I think
Or
4
more.
or 5 times.
Maybe more. Yeah.
So our first ever gig that was booked for us was the day of the closing
Ooh.
of everything. That Friday.
March 13th,
Yeah.
2020.
2020.
Friday the 13th.
Burnt
It
in
was,
your head.
it
Yeah.
was so.
That's a date you take to heart, isn't it?
Yeah.
You said
Yeah.
that with some
I
conviction.
remember that day.
that as a band leader, you're like, what decision do I make?
I wanted
Right?
to play, but he was like,
like,
no.
No, it's not right.
Yeah. I'm glad we didn't play, but
Eventually, the venue made the decision for us. It was like, nah, we're not gonna have people here. You know, we're closing down. And then somewhere in the middle, where it was like outdoor was fine, right? Outdoor gigs were fine. Elvado asked us to play, but then I had played a gig a week before at Elvado with another band that was in, and we packed the place out. And so the health people saw that and were like, no, no more gigs at Elvado. You cannot have horns and you cannot have singers. You can have instrumental background music. That's all.
So
and
we're like, what's the point?
We literally have horns and vocalists. Like, it's not gonna work. So we got canceled for that. Like, our show got canceled for that, and then a couple more. And then the biggest one was that when everything was starting to open, like starting in early May, something like that, we had a gig. Our very first gig supposedly got canceled because we ended up at this cafe that had a big stage outside, and people had been playing at that stage outside. So I'm like, yeah, we'd fit, man, because there's 10 of us, right? We'd fit and we'd be great, and da 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 da. And then apparently the booking person had changed through that process, and this guy was a hard ass and like just
and he tried to make us play inside.
he made us play inside his cafe, and we're like, this is not ideal. And he's like, and as we walk in with our gear, we have like hella gear, like
Carts.
like there's another thing about us is like our gear is just like top notch. Like this, we invest in our stuff, you know. So this hella gear, we're loading this in, and this guy was like such a douche, dude. And he's like, what the fuck is going on here? This is a cafe, not a club. And just like treated everybody like shit, even his employees. And I was like, dude, this sucks. And I didn't have the guts to tell the band, let's leave. Because this was gig number 5 that was going to get canceled if I was going to cancel. But I think eventually everyone's like, let's not get treated like this.
Let's
And how
leave.
soon, like after opening, was this? Like
This
like,
was
the world opening back up again.
This was May
this?
5.
2021.
2021.
Okay.
Yeah,
May 5,
May-
2020.
yeah, May
So
2021.
June was the official opening month, right? I think May that people were like starting to ease into it and we're like, whoa, this is so exciting. Everybody's gigging at this place, and we wanted to be in on it. And he was just treating us like trash. And intrinsically, we all believed in the things. Like, you know what? If you think we're a waste of your time, we're gonna leave. Because we know we're going to kick ass. Like, just give us a chance, and we're going to start kicking ass in the city. And that was gig zero, right? Like, people have seen practice videos, you know, and all these things. People have started getting excited for the thing. So we're glad that kind of like, it was like a chip on our shoulder to get canceled on so many times and still be like, let's push through and practice and get better and learn new songs and like prepare for things that will actually, and we knew we were going to get gigs. We were not worried about that, even though we've been canceled on 5 times. And I'm glad that happened.
Yeah, it felt like we could like hit the ground running as soon as like we could play places, basically.
Yeah.
And that's what we did that summer for sure. Like,
And that same day that we walked out of that cafe, Por Vida Tattoo were like, yo, you want to play at our big ass tattoo shop?
like just
Some of
load
the-
in.
yeah.
We just
Our friends kind of hooked us up with that connect, you know, and so instead of playing that tiny ass stage in the cafe, we played at Por Vida Tattoo for our first ever gig, you know, and it was just amazing because it was just like, how cool is it to start your career off at the biggest tattoo shop in the city? You know what I'm
and
saying?
after
two
like
floors.
kind of rock starring it, just like leaving another venue. The other bands like hung out there and were like directing the crowd to Por Vida. So
Right.
like,
So
yeah, it was fun.
People watched that show and were like, oh, this happened. So that was a pretty cool story too.
So when was it like? Obviously, it was after them. But like, when did you guys start really feeling like, okay, we have got like traction? We're doing it 4 days a week now. Like,
Yeah.
when was that build up starting to happen for you guys?
So we had like a residency at Sawmill. So every single Sunday we had to play
3
2 to
hours.
5 or something.
Yeah.
And
Every Sunday.
3 hours of content every week.
every
From
Sunday,
June to October.
June to October, we did that every single week.
Yeah.
The 250 song list makes sense now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Holy
Yeah.
Right.
shit.
That was like, you know how the Beatles went to Germany and played together for like they got their 10,000
yeah.
hours together as a band. We didn't get our 10,000 hours, but that
But-
was a lot of hours.
Yeah, so from the Sawmill residency, like obviously we like got close, got super tight as like musicians. They were like we really didn't know who would be showing up every week, whether it was like other pros in the scene, people looking for wedding bands, other event coordinators, travelers, and that's kind of how we started like picking up more and more gigs,
Yeah.
learning more and more songs,
Yeah.
getting
just-
more and more musicians around, really.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
and for Sawmill to have trust in us from the get-go, to give us a residency based off practice videos. We were
Yeah.
practicing in a garage and we would take a video, and it was a high quality video, you know, and you know all these things, but they saw like, oh, you have a horn section. We want you to play every Sunday now. From at first it was June to July, right? That was the initial contract, was June to July, and people loved us at Sawmill so much that Sawmill's like, can you do till October? And we're like, and by July we're like, oh, it's so hot and it's like
Yeah.
outside and we're so tired.
There
and
was
all
no
these things.
shade, nothing. It was crazy.
So we had to grind through that. We were grateful for that because you got the public eye every Sunday. You had a place to tell people, I want to see you. Okay, when can I see you? It's like Sunday, this Sunday. Oh, I can't come this Sunday. Okay, next Sunday. You know what I'm saying? And the Sunday after that, and the Sunday after that, whatever. And then eventually, because Sawmill's attached to our name, like venues like Launchpad were like, oh yeah, have them over, right? Or eventually Sandia Casino, right, which is the highest paying gig in the city. They were like, yeah, have them at Sandia one time. And I think after Sandia was like when we were like, all right, like
Yeah.
yeah,
We're like
all
3
the other
months in,
bands
yeah, we're going,
We're
yeah.
3 months in. We were playing at Sandia Casino, and that was like a lot of bands that play in Sandia Casino are all these vets that are like
Been around 10 years. Yeah,
They've been
at
playing
least.
for years and years and years together.
I mean, that's where touring acts go.
Yeah,
Sandia.
right.
Like that's a huge venue. And I gotta kind of echo what you were saying, you know, about the idea of, you know, that's the public every week that's going there. Like I forget who I heard say, if it was either like Joe Rogan or Bill Burr, they were saying about how you have to play. especially when you're starting out, no matter what you're doing, do every gig you can, because you don't know who's in the crowd. You don't know who's going to see you.
Yep.
Whether it's someone who just loves music that tells their friend that loves music and you get another follower, or it's the biggest talent manager in the state and they love what you just did and they keep following you for a bit, and now you have a talent manager, or you get more gigs, or you do this, you have a tour. And so having that mindset, like that, like anti-defeatist mindset, is so fucking important. When you guys started playing at Sawmill, and because you're not in the best conditions, and you're not, I'm sure it got real old real quick. But like, were there like times where you like sat like, okay, like this is why we're doing it, like keep it on track, like this is, remember why we're doing this, because that's kind of like putting in the work, like, you know, cutting your teeth really early at a pretty decent. Where's the venue at Sawmill? Like, where's their stage at?
You know that outdoor patio? There's like the cement slab with no roof over it.
Yeah.
Where a water tank would have been.
Oh.
You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, so you're right there.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
And we would like steal one of the patio, like the umbrellas from the people, like the tables. Like, we're gonna be here for 3 hours. We need this. You know, we'd take 2 or something like that. We'd have to bring our own sound system. Right? They don't have their own sound system. So that was a grind. Yeah, man. So like, let's say we had a Sandia week, right? So Sandia is Friday and Saturday. From 7 p.m. to 1 a.m. you're at Sandia on Friday. And then Saturday night, you're there from what?
9
8?
to 1. Yeah,
So
8 to 1.
We show up at 8, get done at 1, then probably leave around 1:30 too. And then most of us would have church gigs in the morning at like, 9:30 or something like that. Play that 12, and then have to go to Sawmill after to play your 2 to 5 show. So it was definitely cutting your teeth, and I think if it wasn't for our love of, like, I feel alive the most when I perform music. And so yes, the setup is exhausting. Yes, the dragging your gear and driving across town is exhausting. But when you're like hitting that groove like super hard with your band and the energy is just like dan 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 dan, and everybody's just like bopping their heads, like you're not tired. You go. You keep going.
No, there was like some magical moments at Sawmill too that I think made it worth it for all of us. Like, I remember there was one day that like there was like 10 singers on stage or something. And like,
insane, dude.
Yeah, we were like singing Treasure by Bruno Mars, and like all 10 of them didn't know when to stop, so we kept playing. Or there would be insane musicians coming up and like taking over the drum set or taking over the bass, or like it
became a playground for professional. That was our first reputation, was Sawmill was the playground where if you're a professional musician and you want to have fun and show off to the public, like go to Sawmill and watch the Mango Cakes.
Or like our horns would invite all their friends, and there'd be like 10 kids just like wailing,
soloing on Superstition for like 4 hours. But it would be like a 7-piece horn section just taking turns. Like, it's just a bunch of high school freshmen, college kids that were like, just want to blow my horn, to pop music. That was magical for sure.
Yeah.
And there's stories, man, that we like, hey, like, I watched you at Sawmill and I saw this woman and I thought she was cute, and I like walked up to her and talked to her, and we talked about you because we just didn't know what was going to happen next. And they got married. A year later, they got married.
That's sick.
Dude, it was so beautiful. Yeah. And they would send messages like that on our Instagram. It's like, hey man, if it wasn't for your band, like I would not have met the woman of my dreams. And like, we talked about you. That was my pickup line, was, what are they gonna do next? What do you think they're gonna do next? Like, you slide,
icebreaker.
They asked us to play at their wedding, and it was like, oh man, too bad. Like, we would love to, but it didn't work out. But anyways, stories like that happen, so that makes it worth it for sure. Yeah, that makes it worth it.
Holy shit. Holy shit. That's why I love doing this. Like the shit that I hear and just the conversations that I have are fucking wild like that. That's insane. So on stage, through hearing stuff like that and then seeing you guys, like, not that it's unorganized, but there's just so much going on, it can get so chaotic. What does practice look like for you guys? Like, I don't know if there is a typical practice session. Okay, so is it very structured, organized? Like, we're gonna do this and this, we're gonna hit all these, like, no pun intended, but these beats. All right, so what does practice look like for you guys on a typical day?
I want to hear the singers talk.
Yeah.
I mean, so we typically have practice once a week. Sometimes we'll have it twice a week, depending on if we feel like we need to just run through it one more time and make sure that we got it.
Like if we have a show coming up, we usually do twice a week.
Yeah. But for the most part, it's not super structured, but we go on a roll. Like we know we have our set list already ready in the Google Docs, like Jabez was saying. And okay, what songs should we hit that we haven't played in a while? Let's hit those ones first. Okay, the originals, let's hit those ones. Make sure we have all of our parts right, all of our parts down. Like Jabez was saying, okay, no, that part we keep missing the drop, or we keep missing this, Let's keep going over it and over and over it. And sometimes me and Josie will just be
Me and Dan always joke that every time we get to free in rehearsal, we're gonna do that for the next 30 minutes because that almost always happens with free for some reason. But I mean, it's for a reason. It always sounds great when we do it for real. But we're so tight on that song. But yeah, like when you say, "All right, we're gonna run free," me and Dan like look at each other. We're like, "All right, here we are."
I'm just in like MD mode. Like we gotta knock this out. I never see any of the reactions.
Like I said, it's worth it. It's worth it. But yeah, it's a joke between the two of us. So we're like, "All right, it's free. We're gonna be here for a while."
I'm gonna make you sing next time.
But no, it's not like super structured where we have a schedule for practice, but we do have an understanding of we're going to work through the songs that we haven't worked on in a while and the songs that we feel like we didn't do too good on the last time that we did them. Fix those little parts that we messed up on and then just polish everything up.
Yeah, whenever we do the 2 practices a week, usually the second practice we try to make it like as similar to the show as we can. I mean, yes, we still do a lot of stuff like in the moment that we didn't plan, but we try to like work out all the transitions and like really just make it flow as close to the show as we can, so that then once we're up there we have like something to fall back on, but we still have the ability to like do random stuff if we want to, but then we know where we're going back to, if that makes sense.
Basically.
Well, that's cool. And I asked that just because I know, like, so a buddy of mine who's a rapper, he hasn't put out music in a while just because his personal life kind of got out of whack. But we were sitting and talking about this, and I think his longest set is 2 hours. And he would practice his entire 2-hour set beat for beat for beat for beat. Is that, do you guys do that on a regular basis? Because I know you have to hit, there's, you just saying that there's parts where it's like, okay, we have to work on this. You got to start out with this. And again, that's awesome. You guys use fucking Google Docs and shit. I think that's fucking awesome.
Google Calendar.
That's so organized. I just started using an Excel spreadsheet like a week ago. I was like, okay, I'm getting booked out too much, and my little calendar, my little pen and paper calendar is not working out for me. I need something on my phone. So do you guys find yourself doing that? Where you're like, okay, we know we've got Launchpad coming up. So this is what our hour-long, our 45-minute set looks like. We're going to go through the entire thing and see how far we get until we have a hiccup, until we have like a missed note or something like that.
Absolutely. Yep. I think if we're learning songs, like that's why the 2 practice schedules, learning songs, we're like, let's listen to the track, play with it, blah, blah, blah. Let's just like grind out the hard part. And once we know the songs, then you know the show. And that's 2 different things that most bands don't realize. You're not just playing music when you're on stage anymore. Learning your music is probably like 25% of the game at this point. You should not be thinking about where things go or what the next song is or how the chorus goes when you're on stage. You're thinking about what's the energy level of the crowd and how do we use the music that we know we're going to do to kind of set up the crowd for something, right? And so if you know the music, done, cool, check that off. Now you got to know, hey, where does Josie stand when she sings the song, right? Where's Dan going to stand, right? Where am I going to sit? How loud am I going to play dynamically? What are the lights going to look like, right? Or what tone should I have on my bass when this song comes up, right? Like there's these details that we talk about when we perform the practice of the show. I think what to say is another thing that we're go ahead. I think you're talking about that.
All I was gonna say is maybe the same thing you were gonna say is a few of us also get together like to kind of talk about the show too, and like talk about when are we gonna talk about social media, when are we gonna talk about this, like what's the flow of the show gonna look like. We kind of plan that out too, and yes, we still do things kind of off the cuff, but like we kind of figure out where we want things to flow so that it feels good throughout the whole show.
Well, and that's the kind of next level thinking that I think a lot of entertainers need, because you're not looking at your music on stage as music. It's more of muscle memory. So you're like, your practice is just you're going to the gym, and then now you've got your competition. Like that's your again, it's all muscle memory, and then knowing consciously, okay, this person's going to stand here. This is when we're going to plug our stuff. This is how, like, you mentioned a little earlier that you had your sister help you out build the brand and do the whole package around it, rather than just like, hey, this is a cool logo, this is what we look like. For all of you guys, were there people or like mentors or kind of like people that help guide you one way or another when it came to like, okay, we can't just think about this as music. This is how to look a couple of steps ahead. Like, were there people that kind of help guide you and mentor you in that way, like as you grew as a band?
I would say, as far as that aspect, I think, we've been learning that kind of together. But people that have helped me personally, I'll shout out Amanda from the Red Light Cameras. Shout
out her too.
Yeah,
she comes up on like every music episode. I swear.
She's the queen. She's the mom. She's our band mom.
She is.
Yeah, she mentored us through a tough time for sure.
When I first came up with the mango cake, she helped us out that summer, which was last summer.
Before Josie.
Yeah, before Josie came on. And she just gave me so many tips. She gave me so many things to look at. Even if she wasn't teaching me anything, just me watching her perform and watching her do her thing taught me so many things, taught me so much confidence, how to have stage presence. And yeah, I give her a lot of credit for me building that inside myself. Also looking at like Leroy, how he interacts with the crowds from Slums of Harvard. The way he interacts with the crowd is really
so
inspiring
good.
for
So
me.
good.
Yeah.
Love that guy.
I definitely, those are the ones that stick out to me right now, but
I would agree with literally every person you said. And then I've even had a couple friends like Lorenzo and Dalen tell me like, "Hey, you sound awesome, but you need to fix your face when you're playing." Like, and like I did not take it like.
Well, did you take it well, or
No, I was actually like, "Dang, you're right," because I look very upset or sad when I see videos of myself, and I don't want to look like that. So it's kind of pushed me as a drummer to like think about stuff that maybe other drummers don't think about, because I do want to be like making eye contact with the crowd and stuff like that. So literally watching Amanda and Miles and Leroy, I'm like, dang, if I could convey that from behind my drum set, that'd be sick.
Yeah.
So.
For me, I think the musical leadership and the show aspect. I cut my teeth. My start in the professional scene was playing for the Open Jam at Monte Vista. So D Brown was a mentor of like just like musical excellence. Like he, even though you're not practicing hard, like you gotta show up and know your stuff and like play it well. And then I would say Arthur Matters was the one who introduced me to the Excel sheet, to the setlist Excel sheet. So like I had this whole phone conversation with him. I was like, dude, how do I create a setlist like you do? And he showed me the ropes, and then I kind of expanded on it since then. So that organization was from him. And then for me and Tina, like it's just watching like live performances of the biggest pop stars in the world.
We used to like during COVID, we would watch like
Bruno Mars,
all the live Bruno versions. We'd watch Justin Bieber's band, like live YouTube videos were like our inspo.
Because you know, like somebody like Justin Bieber, like, oh, Justin Bieber, come on, man, like, you know, pop.
Okay, but he's also like a multimillionaire, almost a billionaire. So
and
I don't like his music either. But he's doing something different than I am.
Right,
Like,
he's rich. And also, if you think about the band behind him, are killers, right? And the MD behind all the live performances for any pop star will play circles around anybody that will, you know, they're geniuses, you know. So you watch that and you're like, whoa, because I know how the song goes, but they did something different here, or they did something with the intro that's really interesting. That you'll never hear in the album, right? So we would like take cues from that and be like, whoa, that was epic, right? And so I think we've moved from covering songs to covering live versions of the songs. Yeah. So we, instead of Crazy in Love from the album Crazy in Love, we'd watch the Glasgow, like, you know, festival Beyonce version of that and like play that version of it instead of, you know, so covering the live version of the song has been something
which has led to us making our own
versions.
Into our own hits and into our own, like, how does this translate live, this song?
I think I could also say, like, these guys have been super inspiring. She's a super good singer, very good drummer, very good bassist. All the other instrumentalists are super talented in what they do, so they inspire me definitely to make sure I'm on top of my game. But they're just good, and it's just inspiring to be around really good people that are really good at their talent.
And I kind of figured that answer was going to come out, and that's awesome because you guys are really from like what I've heard about you, seeing you guys, and then talking to you now, it's very obvious that you guys have a system, you have a group that works, and it's all very synergetic, right? And right now it's a lot of fine tuning, and it's a lot of like, okay, we have, like we've said before, like we have our foundation. Now, how do we go further? How do we go higher and shit like that?
Yeah.
And you brought up something really interesting. Like, how does it translate live? Is that a conscious thought when you guys are writing your own music? Like, this might be a really good song, but how does this play live? Like, do you guys worry about that at all?
I think so. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Like, should every song be playable live?
I think for me, I think our answer has changed a little bit. Like, kind of earlier days, I felt like every song we wrote, we were thinking about the live aspect. But recently, I think, at least me, I just want to make the best record possible, and then we could figure out how to do it live.
Yeah.
Because we're already good at that, so we'll figure it out eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we're working on a song right now. We're recording it right now. It's called Higher. And it's kind of like that, where we do play it live, and I think it's great live, but I think all the extra stuff we're adding to it in studio, like, makes it really, really special.
Yeah. I think I had this realization early in the year where, like, damn, we can stand up toe to toe with anybody live anywhere, right, in the city. But then I see all these other local bands that are like, single out this week, single album out this week, and you listen to these albums, I'm like, damn, that's really good. Like, that's well produced, man. That's really cool. Like, really well done. And I would not know how to make that happen myself, right? Yeah. And so I felt like we were adults in the live versions of things and the live performance, but we're babies in the recordings. And like, how do you put your candy on this? How do you mix this? And how do you record stuff? And and we've only recently like gotten to know that this year. And there's been some crazy opportunities that's come up out of nowhere, and we've learned from that, So yeah, I think that Higher single that we're about to drop, hopefully end of May. Probably not end of May at this point.
What day is it?
We keep saying
it's the
next
first week of
month.
May. Second week of May.
It has to be.
It's sometime.
End of May.
Let's say by the end of May, we're going to be releasing a
There you
single.
go. It's coming
That's a
out.
soundbite.
Yeah.
It's on camera now.
Yeah, exactly.
It's on camera.
Well, and talk about crazy opportunities. I saw you guys on your story yesterday. You had a song feature for the fucking NBA Finals.
Yeah, man.
What was that all about?
Bro, so
Bro.
that was a surreal opportunity. We have a friend named Armando who works for ESPN. He used to be in the music scene here, and we met like early after the pandemic, when they opened up. And that summer we kind of got acquainted, and he knew about the Mango Cakes and what we were doing, and has just been tracking us through social media after he left town. And this was such a cool story because this guy, his name is Emmanuel Morales. He did an album for ESPN for a different style of music, like rock, like heavy, like punk, whatever. And he got featured in football games and all these things. And Armando asks him, like, who should do the next album for ESPN? And I love it when people talk behind your back, but it's good stuff. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't know this was a conversation that happens. Like, yeah, you should have Jabez, like, create an album because the Mango Cakes are sick, dude. And Armando calls me out of nowhere, and he's like, hey, do you want to produce a 10-song album for ESPN? I'm like, I heard about this from Manny. Like, he did this. That I don't know how to do any of that. Like I said, we're babies in recording stuff. But I was like, just had to face the imposter syndrome, right? I had to talk to my sister who does this for a living. It's like, sis, like, how do you face, like, when Walmart asks you to do something big for them or, like, whatever, these companies? And it's just like, they called you for a reason. Like, do it. And, so we did it. And that was the most stressful, like, 2 or 3 months of our lives. My life, for sure.
That's
Straight up.
They were just, okay, what's the part, Jabez? Let me sing it. Or what's the drum part? Let me play it, I had to come up with these things on a Sunday, and like just write a whole song. And got that done, man. 10 songs in 2.5 months. A lot of help from the community. Everybody in the band chipped in. got it done, and then submitted it in early April, and never heard from them ever again. Got paid at least, never heard from them. And so I was just watching the Lakers game. I'm a huge Lakers fan since I was a kid. Before I played music, I was a Lakers fan. So I was just watching the game, and this was like last Saturday night. We had a great gig, so it's been a great day. It was my birthday week as well. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, yeah, cool. I'll watch the Lakers game. We'll beat the Golden State Warriors.
And they did.
And they did.
Hell yeah.
And then there's this section, man, where I'm like just watching, and they start introducing the celebrities. And Kim Kardashian shows up, and I hear the bang. So I was like, that's the first song of my life, because I spent hours and hours on that music, man. So I knew that was my baby. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's my baby. That's my kid right there. So I heard the horns, and it cut through like all the noise in a basketball game. I was like, that's my song, guys. And I just took a video and shared it with everybody, and we freaked out. Mm-hmm. It's like, wow, dude. And the NBA made a reel out of that section because it was celebrities. And my song is in that reel. Like our song is in there forever. There's 5 million views as of yesterday, man. Mm-hmm. I was like, what the Unreal. A Lakers game, we beat the Warriors, and it was my birthday week. It was just beautiful. It was surreal. I was like, somebody's looking out for this band, man.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, Mango Jesus
Mango Jesus.
Mango Jesus.
Loves us.
And I don't want to skate over what you just said. 10 songs in 2 months?
10 songs in 2 months.
Traditionally, usually.
We only have one song out.
After 3 years of being a band.
Only one.
Exactly where I was going with that. Yeah. Holy shit.
That was a rate that was just, it's doable. There's no excuses. It's doable to have 10 songs. So this end of May thing, it's no excuses.
Yeah, we got it. End of May.
That's very true. Yeah.
Man, 10 songs.
So, talk about a learning experience, having to do that much work, such a little time. So, I feel like there could be an inclination to say, hey, well, we can do this many songs in such a little time. Let's just crank these out. Mm-hmm. Or what you guys are going through now is like, no, let's. I don't know if it's procrastination. I don't know if it's hey, let's really take care of this song.
It's beautiful.
Maybe it's a little bit of both. But
yeah.
Did that thought ever come up? It's like, hey, we can just do it. We did it. So let's just keep cranking shit out. Because that's a very easy pitfall. I feel like for my favorite band, Green Day, they went through a period where they put out 3 songs in or 3 albums in a year.
Yeah.
And
Uno, dos, tres.
Yeah. And how much of that is actually really good?
Not a lot.
Not a lot of it, right?
Exactly.
Not a lot at all.
It's like really catchy elevator music.
Yes.
And it's kind of painful to see.
Yeah.
Was that ever like a something you guys almost did, or is it like, no, we should stay on track, let's actually take care with each thing that we do?
I think we're still figuring that out, man. Yeah. I'm exhausted.
I feel like part of it is the fatigue right now, for sure.
I'm afraid to sit in my studio and start something because I'm mentally crispy, burned. You know what I'm saying?
The pizza rolls of your brain are still kind of cooling down in the oven, right?
And I've been through a lot the last couple of months. Went through a breakup, just emotionally, mentally, man.
Strike while the iron is hot,
dude. When I got broken up,
that's what I said.
Exactly.
That woman was a great woman, but when we broke up, I was like, feel every moment.
Yes.
Remember everything that's happening right now. Write a song.
Exactly. That's where the best songs come out of.
Right.
Heartbreak.
As I was crying, I was like, feel this, dude. It's okay, man. Sit with this emotion. I think this summer we're gonna hit it hard. I think it's gonna. Awesome. Yeah. You said elevator music. Yeah, we don't want to release elevator music. Mm-hmm. And if you do 10 songs in 2 months, of course, some of it's gonna be elevator music. Mm-hmm. There's some songs that we're like, dang, can we keep this? This is amazing, There's some songs we're like, that's just to feel the contract, But yeah, I think we can. We've proved to ourselves that we can do it for sure. That's big for us.
Oh, so that's a good point. So all the music you guys wrote for that album, that's the property of ESP, and you can't touch it. You can't even
cover it.
Can you play it live?
No, you can't.
Damn.
No. They own all the masters. Yeah.
And there's a few that we're like, man, let's just cover it.
Yeah.
Let's just cover it.
That's what you got to do with all the big stand-ups do. Just have all the people that show up, lock up their phones in these bags. They
Yeah,
can't record
exactly.
you.
Don't say anything
You
to
kill the
ESPN.
security cameras. And you men in black them at the
Yeah.
end. Just
And you know, there's always that, like, how closely is ESPN really gonna watch us? But I think the intrinsic, again, we go back to the intrinsic, where it's like, all right, we promise that, you know, we signed a contract. Let's leave it there. Let's use this as like references for future
integrity.
songs.
Yeah.
And you know, if we can churn this out and like imagine what we can do with one song and spend time with it, and how great that song can be. So I think we've landed there. Like, all right, let's use that as reference and use that as proof that we can do this. I think that's where we landed pretty much.
I think it's also like really good practice for, because like I said, we have really big goals for one day. Hopefully we get signed, or hopefully we just have a really big project where eventually I feel like we're gonna have a deadline, and we're like, okay, well, we already know we can do this. Like, it's not just something that hit us in the face and we're not used to it. We're not ready
Right.
for it. We haven't been through it.
Right.
But I think it was really good practice.
Yeah.
Well, and what's beautiful now, and I'm saying this kind of talking out of my ass, 'cause I'm not a musician at all. But with the age of the internet and social media and streaming, like, as cool as it would be to be signed, I couldn't imagine what that would be like for a musician to get signed by a big record label. It's not necessarily needed anymore.
Definitely.
Because that was the big thing always up until like maybe 10 years ago, 10, 12 years ago. And like I love listening to comedians talk about their art, and a lot of them are always saying, like, back in the day it was always, you need a sitcom, you need to get onto a movie, you need to get onto SNL. But now with the internet, the same way they put their stand-up up, you guys can put your music up, you put your live shows up.
Exactly.
If you end up or when you guys get to the point when you make a music video, like all of your resume can just be digital and digestible, and people can see that, and that's how you kind of gain your traction, get this, that, and the other coming for you. What's kind of the vision for the band going forward right now? Is there like an end goal, or is it like we're just gonna keep hitting these like milestones we have set for one another, and then when we hit them, if we need to course correct, we will?
He's looking at me. I guess I'll say it. I think the latter. Is do the best you can with what's in front of you. That's always been our way of doing things. To be honest, like, we don't even have a TikTok, right? Like, we don't.
TikTok's a cancer, dude. I regret making mine, and it is because they get you, man. I'm telling you. So this is what they do. You put your first couple of videos or whatever up, and they kind of explode them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh,
right.
I got good content. What the
Oh,
fuck?
really?
And then it's like a couple thousand. The next one's like 10,
Yeah.
50 views,
Right.
100
The
views. And I'm like,
algorithm
oh, so I'll just,
is
okay,
evil.
whatever.
Right.
Yeah, it's a tough one. And I know a little bit too much about TikTok because I just like went down a rabbit hole of why the government's trying to ban it. And I'm like, oh my God, that is scary. So I don't blame you for not having a fucking TikTok.
But you were talking about like not needing a label, right? I've watched this Vox video of like, you know, a lot of these TikTok artists that get viral, like they have so much leverage over labels because I have freaking millions of people following me. So you're not gonna get me on the hook for $1 million. Like you're not gonna have this much of a cut in my music or whatever. So that's leverage. So that's why I bring TikTok up. But yeah, honestly, like for all its warts and all these things, I don't know. It's a tool, right? I don't know. I personally don't know how to do it, so we need help. That's why we have management.
Yeah, we got management now, so they
You
gotta
guys
take
got
over
that.
it. Yeah.
Can we just do music, please? But yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
Is like next goals?
Yeah, like the general vision, like how do you what do you see your guys' at least like maybe near future looking like? Are there any like major things you're trying to really knock out of the park and do, or
More original music?
More
Really?
original- yeah,
Like,
singles, drop
Yeah.
singles, and then tour.
Tour.
Tour,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
what I was gonna say.
Yeah, we believe it or not, I don't think we've ever played outside of Albuquerque.
not as a band, yeah.
Not as a band.
Wow.
Individually we have, but you know, and we know we could play anywhere and do well anywhere. Outside other bands from outside of the state have seen us and like, wait, like you should come to Austin, right? And like they would love you in these venues in Austin. You know, not every
Austin-
venue, right?
Austin seems to be the place to be.
Yeah.
right now for anything entertainment.
For music,
like
yeah.
that is the place to be.
Yeah. And they were like, and they caught us in a show that was like, it wasn't even our greatest day. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, there's confidence in ourselves of like, yeah, let's go to Denver, let's go to Phoenix. But that's also a process, right? Asking venues to believe in you and asking bands to play with you from another place, like kind of that's a learning thing that we're still trying to figure out. But that's hopefully so dropping singles, learning that process, and going on tour and learning that process, and then funding all of that, right? Like,
exactly.
so we might have to sell out a couple, like corporate gigs to get paid a lot, and then like use that to fund.
I guess we'll have to sell out, man.
I guess
I don't know. We were going to originally, but now that we have to, I mean,
dude, we're a really good wedding band. So if you have a
We're a
wedding,
good wedding band.
we will kill that wedding.
Yeah, straight
You'll remember us forever.
We will make your day that much better.
Yeah. So funny wedding story, right? So speaking of Instagram, like this couple from upstate New York, like real estate agents in upstate New York, rich people. They've never seen us live, and they like saw, and they're like, we have a destination wedding in Santa Fe, and we want you to be the band. I was
like, are you sure?
Yeah, right. I was like,
Santa Fe?
where
Okay.
have you seen us? Have you seen us at Marble? Have you seen us at Sawmill? I was like, no, we've never seen you live. I've seen your Instagram.
That's awesome.
And we'll pay you $8,000 to do it, And I was like, okay, let's do it. What do you want us to play? And they were like, please play some Fish. And we're like, we've never played Fish before, and like, I guess we're playing Fish because it's $8,000,
Yeah.
and we did it, and they loved it, man. And they bought a shirt, like everything from top to bottom. It's like, oh, the bride was like gushing. It's like, thank you so much. Like,
When
You guys
we
are so
when we got there,
professional.
literally I was walking in and I just hear the bride and group shouting "Mango Cakes!" Like, I don't even know who they are.
right. So yeah, we're excellent wedding band as well. So if we want to fund our singles and our tour.
And so you guys mentioned a little earlier that you went from playing like a bunch of gigs a week to now you've kind of dialed it back a little bit more. What's your guys' thought process in choosing the venues that you play, when you play, stuff like that? Because I always find that very interesting when bands can transition from we will take any gig we can get to why should we play at your place?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I think that's a really interesting spot
Yeah.
for bands to get into. So what's kind of the mindset behind all that?
It's a big band. Not every place can hold us, and then not every place is worth going to. I don't really think money is always like a huge factor in everything.
Yeah.
For me, if like we know that there's gonna be a huge crowd and who knows who's gonna be in the audience, like
Exactly.
I'll do it any day.
Yeah.
But then other times, like if the money is great and it's not a big crowd, then that can be helpful for our guys too. So
I would think even, at least for me, I feel like you guys feel the same. We want to have fun too.
Yeah.
We want to
Yeah.
go to a place where we know the crowd's going to be excited to
Yeah.
see us and
Yeah.
excited to hear us play
Yeah.
and want to interact with us when we're on stage and just trying to get them to dance with us and stuff like that. But I think that's another aspect that we look at.
Is it on brand? I'm just kidding. Right. So, yeah, that's a great way to put it. It's like, are we going to enjoy this? Because we're not going to get paid as much, right? So, are we interested to have fun playing the show? And a lot of it is also keeping relationships going, right? So, people who book, certain places, we gotta kind of, all right, let's hit this place one time, just to keep that relationship going, and still be friends and not be on a weird, because things can get weird super fast in the scene. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh,
So I've heard.
yeah,
So I've
they're
heard.
too good for us now.
Both
Like
on and off
we're
camera,
never
so
too
I've heard.
good. Yeah, we're never too good for the city, man. Like we started here and we want to play great shows here and. Just be that band that's like, whoa, they're doing some cool stuff. I want to do cool stuff with my band, right? Like, where can that happen? Where can you be seen doing that? And I think that's the mentality.
Well, and it brings up a good point, and I've found this with a lot of the other musicians that I've talked to and it makes sense because the culture of New Mexico, the culture of Albuquerque is very like close knit, tight families. Everyone stays together. Land of entrapment, right? Not a lot of people leave, and then so that translates very one to one in this entertainment scene that I'm beginning to meet people and talk to. Where it's like, yeah, like we played with these people, and then they know them, and then we met this venue owner who's like cousins with this venue owner, and then they married this venue, and just all this huge networking and like this winding weave of people. Have you found that networking has been like super crucial when it comes to building the brand, building your reputation, right? Your goodwill with not only other bands but venues, and because everything here is fucking word of mouth.
Yeah.
You can social media all you want.
Yeah.
You can put up flyers. You can
Yeah.
have great shows, but if the word of mouth for whatever reason isn't traveling, yet you can't dial that in.
Yeah.
You're kind of start hitting that ceiling like you were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Somebody's gonna kind of close the door on you
Yeah.
for no reason, and you don't know why, right? Yeah, I'm sure we've like rubbed some people wrong for sure, like people who book things because for some reason we couldn't do a gig at their place or whatever. But for the most part, it's been goodwill. Again, we've always just focused on, hey, how good can we make this happen so that there's people there? Because at the end of the day, even if you hate us as a booking person, right? Like the band brings people and business to your business. So if we can make that happen, then we just people are gonna like you. I would say that's a very cynical take, right? But I think that's true in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
So we always focus back on the show. Focus back on what's gonna make people stay and watch and buy stuff and get drunk, right? What's gonna make people, remember this and enjoy their time and escape, So it goes back to that always.
Yeah. And so one thing I want to ask you guys about before we get out of here is the songwriting process, like from top to bottom. Because again, you guys have so much going on all at once, from the absolute, just the infancy, the genesis of a song, into like the finished product, ready to put it out on stage. What are you thinking about first? Is it the lyrics? Is it the music behind it? How everything syncs together and works? Is it keeping things on beat with the drum and with the bass? Like what does that process look like from from top to bottom?
Let's talk about Higher.
Yeah.
Because that's probably the most. Yeah. Yeah. Good.
Yeah, so the song that sorry, my bad. The song that we're working on right now, Higher, it kind of just came from the three of us, I think. Yeah, it was like three of us. We were at Jabez's apartment, and we were just talking. And we were like, let's write a song. And we started with this exercise that Jabez had found where you just start with like a color. Right? Was that what it was?
It's just a random word.
Oh, random word. Yeah.
And Tina came up with a color.
Yeah, Tina picked the color purple because that's her favorite color. And so we just went off of this idea of purple. What does purple mean? And it was kind of, for us, it turned into this idea of like, I don't know.
Royalty.
Yeah, like royalty, like, I don't know.
Being above people. Higher.
Don't say that. What are you saying?
Being above people.
No, but then it kind of sparked a cool conversation where we were talking about how, like, we all have day jobs that are fine. They pay the bills. But what we really love to do is being on stage and making music. And how sometimes when we're at our day jobs, we'll have that feeling of like, man, none of you even know that I can sing. none of you even know that I like play music. Like none of you have any idea what's going on in my life. Like
Stuck
I don't know.
in this stupid meeting.
Yeah. But at the same time, so it's like kind of that idea. It was kind of that idea, but then also we started talking about how when we're on stage, it makes life worth living, and it makes doing our day jobs and the stuff we don't love to do, it makes it worth it, because we're funding our dream. And so all jokes aside, that's really what the song Higher came out of. And Tina had this, you can tell them about it.
It was like a little like 3-chord piano riff I came up with when I was like 15 or something, and we were all like at a house party one night, and I think everyone was a little lit, and I started playing it, and Jabez started freaking out, and then finally like a month later we were like, okay, let's actually put it down, and then he completely rearranged it and made it awesome.
So then Jabez had kind of figured out, a bass line of what the music was going to kind of sound like. And then from there is where we got Purple. This, I don't know, it just felt like the vibe. And then from there is where we sparked that conversation, and that's kind of where the lyrics came from. So then another time we came back and we kind of like fine-tuned the lyrics and stuff, and Dan was there for that too, and we kind of just talked more about this idea of this is what we love to do, and this is what makes life worth living for us. And it turned into this song called Higher. And we always like to talk about that too whenever we play it live, that that song is about our love for the people that are there for us. It's about our love for being on the stage and for, them making our life worth living by coming and listening to our music. And so it's really kind of like, I guess, a love song to the people that show up for us, I guess.
Because we would definitely obviously not be here if it wasn't for the people that are going to watch us.
Absolutely, man. You can practice all you want, and people don't watch you, it's kind of discouraging for sure. And yeah, we've been blessed with great crowds for sure.
So I'm curious, since you guys all have day jobs, do you like talk about the band with your coworkers? Because like I feel I did keep all of this a secret for as long as I could, and we had a meeting, and the vice president of our district and like the head of like the corporate head of HR for this is like a global fucking company that I work for.
Okay.
Right? Multi-billion-dollar company.
Holy crap.
Yeah. And so like the vice president of our district came down, the corporate head of HR came down, our branch manager, like a bunch of these big wigs, and I was so just out of it. It's like 4:30 in the afternoon, I'm ready to go home. And we're all sitting around the conference table, and they're like, so we just, before we get out of here, we just want to learn about you guys. That, it's like that we're a family here. You know what I mean? I'm like, so I tuned out, and they all like, just go around the table. Like, what do you guys like to do in your free time? And went boom, 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 and like, Noah, what do you like? And I was like, I was like replying to a text message like, oh yeah, I like to lift weights and I do a podcast. I do a podcast.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, what's it about? What's it called? And I was like, I don't want you to see the logo.
I might get fired.
I don't want it. And then I am so blessed. I am so blessed because the vice president, like, he perked up. That was HR asking everybody, because it had to be HR asking, right? Looking for fucking red flags to poke you at, right? Yeah. And the head of the district vice president, I love Joe Rogan. What do you do? And I was like, oh my God, not DMT, but I like talking to people. It's a lot of fun. Yeah. But do you guys talk to your, like, hey, we got a show coming up, or we do this, we do that. I know what you guys do for a living, but is that something you're like, 'cause I know a lot of people, whatever kind of entertainment they do, like, they love promoting it on their social media. They'll tell their friends and family, but when it comes to the people they see the most, which unfortunately in our climate, your coworkers, or for better or worse, you see them the most. Yeah, they're not that keen to be like, hey, I'm in a band, or I'm whatever. Do you guys find yourself doing that?
I'm proud of this shit, so I tell anybody that listens. I'm a teacher. Okay. I'm a PE teacher, and
that's sick. What the fuck?
Yeah, I'm a PE teacher. That's awesome. I'm Coach Jay. So
when you get mad, you just pelt kids with dodgeballs?
Yeah, I've been playing dodgeball with the kids the last couple of days. Yes, I get them. Yeah, it's great. We have workout days, and they suffer, and it's like, yes. And you're tired, and you can't complain. But no, I'm a PE teacher. The first couple months of the year, like, I would share the flyer in the group chat, and people were like, yay, cool. And, when people say they're in a band, like, they imagine, like, oh, you're in this corner and playing music in a restaurant or bar. Yeah. And I don't think, I could be wrong, but I don't think none of my co-workers who are teachers have ever seen me play. They've seen pictures, for sure, but they've never seen us live. But maybe in past jobs, they've shown up and it's like, whoa, what? This is amazing. He's like, yeah, I told you to come. Like,
tell them about how your kids look up your videos.
Oh my God, man. I teach K to 8, so like my middle schoolers, they're good at internet stuff, and so they're like,
yeah, you're a PE teacher, dude.
I teach health class, and my students are like, we Googled you. We Googled the mango cakes, and we saw your video at Launchpad, like, doing Bruno Mars, and all these things. And I was like, oh my God, like, what else did we put out? I just don't want these kids to know, like. So the students, there's kind of a, it's uncomfortable. Coworkers is different, for sure.
That's fair.
I do electrical work, and I've been doing that for a few years now. But I tried not to tell anybody, just because I don't also want to be like, hey guys, I'm in a band. Like, I'm in a band. If it comes up, I'm not gonna shy away from it. But like, I definitely don't present it to my coworkers, just because at the same time I don't want it to come off that way, and they don't really ask, so it's like, I don't care.
There's some wisdom to that, because like, you kind of don't get judged under that lens. Mm-hmm. Like, do you really want to be here, Coach Jay, right? Or do you just want to be a rock star?
Yeah.
Of course I just want to be a rock star. What are you talking about? No, I enjoy my job. But there's also that's pretty wise in that sense, to not let people know that's too close to you. That could fire you. There's connection to your paycheck, so. These two are.
Let me just talk for a second.
I have no coworkers, so I'm just.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Now I teach voice now is what I do, and so. And so yeah, I tell everybody now. But
you're the vocal coach for
Slums.
right?
Yeah. I teach voice for Nevin and Leroy. We have a lesson tomorrow, so yeah, that's a lot of fun. And then I teach at like a music school, and yeah, it's great. I love it. And I tell everybody now. I like he said earlier, I used to be a pastor for the very beginning of me being in this band, and so. Your question's a little bit touchy because there was a while where I was like scared to tell anybody that I was in a band, or like I wouldn't even share when we had shows and stuff like on our social media because I was, scared of like people from church coming, and I don't know, because like we try to make it pretty family friendly for the most part, but we're gonna say what we want to say and we're gonna do what we want to do, and I didn't want to be like judged for that, and so there was a while where I was kind of scared to talk about it to anybody, but I don't work there anymore. So now I tell everybody about it.
So my last day job, I kind of like grew up with like everyone at that company. So like immediately the second I walked in the door, like whoever didn't know knew that I played drums and stuff. But recently, like I teach high school drumline at La Cueva, and a bunch of their parents have been like coming out to the shows and bringing their kids and stuff. So I don't know. I like it because the kids seem to like it. One weird experience I had the other day, though, was I've always felt like my safe space was like the little gym by my house. And I just always show up looking like a mess, like, just like rolling out of bed. And I walk in the other day and like 4 of the front desk people that I don't even know the names of or like never even spoke to was like, you're with the Mango Cakes? Oh, shit, like, aren't you guys playing this weekend at Marvel? And I was like, yeah, who told you? They're like, oh, one of the other guests. And I was like, what? Like, so that was, that was weird, but I don't mind it. I like when people know.
Tina, by the way, Tina's the most popular Mango Cake.
Yeah, literally. Anytime I go anywhere with Tina, everyone's like, "Oh, the drummer for the Mango Cakes! Dude. You get in for free!" Like literally everywhere.
Dude, this is happening. This is
every time I go out, I want to go out with Tina because I'm gonna get something for free.
I go out with Tina, and then people will recognize, like, "Oh my God, Tina, you're the drummer for the Mango Cakes, right?" And then they look at me, it's like, "Are you also in the Mango Cakes?"
Honestly, they recognize Tina more than me and Dan. Even.
Oh, 100%.
Like everybody 100%. Loves Tina.
Like, dog, I helped found them.
Tina is definitely a Mango Cake icon.
Yeah, Tina's the face of the Mango Cakes for sure.
I don't know how.
Too cool.
I have to echo that because I don't like to advertise like until like the day before if I'm doing it live or if I'm doing pre-recorded like this. Yeah. I don't like to advertise to who I'm having on. I like to keep it to myself. That's one of the only things about this podcast I kind of keep to myself, obviously. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I told somebody I didn't even think like went out and saw music and like was social. And I was like, yeah, dude, I'm having the Mango Cakes on. Like, is Tina gonna be there? She's the shit. And I was like, Google Docs. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah, dude.
I know their names.
Yeah, right.
That's great. Yeah.
It's a small town, but that works. That's an awesome thing. And, being able to build popularity and build like that goodwill with people, like that's such an invaluable thing. Because like there's so like, I feel like being big in Albuquerque, you could kind of get that big fish in a tiny pond thing, but you're not really competing with Albuquerque. Like you kind of brought it a little bit earlier, you're competing nationally. Mm-hmm. Like I was talking with the Slums about that, and because I love their music and it's great, but at the same time, whenever I'm playing their music, I'm choosing them over my favorite bands. Mm-hmm. And inversely, right? And that's how it goes for everybody. It's like time is so valuable and so precious, and we spend so much time wasted, I feel like, just as like people our age, like just getting addicted to our phones and social media and this, that, and the other. Whatever you do spend your time doing, you could be doing literally anything else. So if you're going to choose music, the fact that people choose and go out to see you guys, choose to listen to your stuff, they could be doing quite literally anything else. Mm-hmm. So having a lot of people consistently do that, I mean, that's just a part of building really great goodwill, and you get recognized at the gym every now and again, I guess.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's
awesome. They don't hate us.
Yeah. Well, this has been a fucking blast.
Hell yeah.
It was such a pleasure to meet all you guys in person and sober. Because that show at Launchpad was awesome.
That's awesome.
And big thank you to your manager who's sitting behind the curtain for getting this together. I appreciate you.
Alexis, thank you.
But before we get out of here, what do you guys have coming up? Like any major shows, events, stuff like that you guys have coming on?
Yeah, we're back at Marble June 2nd.
Or is it 3rd? June 2nd? Sorry.
You messed up the soundbite.
Sorry, say it again. Cut that part out.
Let's look at the calendar and make sure it's the right date. I think it's the 2nd.
It's the 2nd.
Few
Weeks off.
And like we said, Higher coming out.
June 2nd. Friday night, June 2nd at Marble. And Higher is coming out also around that time.
Relatively soon.
Relatively soon. Don't hold us accountable. But yeah, that's two of the biggest things coming out. We're playing with the Slums of Harvard in June at Inside Out. And that's going to be a fun one. We did that last year, and it was a blast for sure.
And then where can everyone find you on like social media and all that good stuff?
At the Mango Cakes.
Sweet.
At the Mango Cakes,
Everywhere.
Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you guys again for coming in. This
Thank you.
was seriously, this is a fucking blast. I'm really looking
Thank you,
forward to
Noah.
this. And thank you everyone for listening and watching, and we'll see you
Thank
next
you.
time. Bye, everybody.
Later.
Bye. Dude, thank you, man. Hell yeah. Thank you guys for having us, man.